You might have heard of a pirate named Barbarossa, but you might be surprised to hear that it was not one, but actually four brothers of this name. So, in 1462, when the Ottoman conquest of Lesbos Island took place, amongst the participants was a soldier named Yaqub Agha. Now, Yaqub was a Sipahi, not a Janissary. So, because of that, we are not sure whether he was Turkish or Albanian because you see, the Janissaries had to be local Christian converts to Islam, so they couldn't be Turks. But a Turk could be a Sipahi, so he could have been a Turk also. We're not sure. But what we do know is that as a reward for participating in the conquest, he was granted the village of Gonova and he became its headmaster, which was known as Agha. Here he married a local Greek Christian and they had six children, two daughters of whom we know literally nothing, and four sons. From oldest to youngest, they were Ishaq, Aruj, Khizr, and Ilyas. So Yaqub Agha worked as a potter, and he purchased a boat to transport his merchandise to their destinations. And his sons learned sailing as a part of family business. And eventually, with the exception of Ishaq, they took over the transportation department of the business. Ishaq, on the other hand, he continued to help his father at the wheel. But one day, what happened was that on an expedition of Tripoli in Lebanon, Aruj and Ilyas sighted a galley belonging to the Hospitallers, and then disaster struck. Ilyas was killed and Aruj was captured along with their boat and he was taken to Bodrum Castle. Khizr tried to ransom him, but it wasn't successful and Aruj spent the next 3 years as a prisoner of the Hospitallers before eventually managing to escape. Afterwards, he and Khizr became privateers with hopes of countering the action of the Hospitallers. They served various Muslim princes before eventually Aruj entered Ottoman service. So he didn't enter service of the Sultan, but of Shehzade Kurkuk, an Ottoman prince who was governor of Antalya. And Korkut gave him 18 galleys to fight the Hospitallers because the Hospitallers were attacking Ottoman as well as Muslim shipping. However, disaster was also around the corner. You see, Bayezid II was ailing and he had three sons still alive at this point. Now, the Ottoman tradition was that every prince had to become the governor of a province. And when the Sultan died, the first to reach the capital was the rightful heir to the throne. Sounds good on paper, but in practice, this led to assassinations and conspiracies. And as you can tell already, the proximity of each prince's province to the capital was a major factor in his chances of getting the throne as well. So in 1509, when Bayezid was still alive, a war broke out. You see, this map shows us the locations of the three princes, where they were at the time when the war broke out. Long story short, in 1512, Salim forced his father Bayezid II to abdicate and he exiled him, but his father died on the way. After that, Salim defeated and executed his brother Ahmed. Korkut, on the other hand, he stayed neutral throughout the civil war, but Salim was very paranoid, and so he told some of his agents, send fake letters to Korkut saying people are not happy with Salim and they invite you to take over. The trap worked, and so Korkut was arrested and executed. After that, Salim proceeded to execute all the sons of his brothers who had died before him to ensure the throne was safely in his hands. Now, Aruj was in big trouble. Not only him, but basically everyone related to the royal family, especially the three princes, because there was civil war. So Aruj decided the best thing to do was leave the Ottoman Empire. So he slipped off to North Africa working as a privateer. First, he served the Mamluks of Egypt, and he was still in Egypt. when he heard the news that Korkut has been executed by Salim. So he decided not to go back and instead he began working for the Hafsid rulers of Tunis. The Hafsids were a local North African dynasty of Berber origin. They had come to power following the disintegration of the Almohads in 1229, and when Aruj arrived, Muhammad IV al-Mutawakkil was their leader. So the brothers wrote to al-Mutawakkil asking him if they could use a port in his domains. He said, "You can use the port of Golet," and he also gave them protection. In exchange, they had to give him a fifth of whatever they captured. So at this point, they only had two galleots. So the port of Golet was more than enough. In 1504, Aruj became famous because he captured a papal galley that was sailing from Genoa, kept carrying gifts for Pope Julius II, along with its escort, of the Italian island of Elba. And the men he captured became enslaved rovers, which was a common feature in navies at the time. The next year, he captured a Spanish warship with 500 men, and that's because all these men were so tired from pumping their leaky vessel or they were just seasick. So he easily overpowered them, took their ship. And this was all done with the help of his brothers Ishaq and Khizr. His exploits grew even further. In less than 5 years, he had captured 8 ships that he could now use for his own activities. Now the port of Golet was getting small for him, so he moved to the island of Jerba. This island was located off coast of Tunis, and from this island he would attack Christian European ships and also raid the Italian coast. And you may not know this, but the name Barbarossa also comes from this part of history. So Aruj would organize ferrying of Muslims and Jews from the Iberian Peninsula because if you chose to go into exile instead of converting to Christianity, you had to pay for your passage. And there were many people who couldn't pay, so they were stuck there. And because Aruj was helping them, they called him Baba Aruj, meaning Father Aruj in gratitude. The Europeans misheard this as Barbarous and eventually made it Barbarossa, which means red-bearded. Though, just a trivial fact, only Aruj is known to have had a proper red beard. Khizr's beard was auburn, not red. Now, Aruj was not satisfied with Jerba. He wanted more land, and an opportunity soon came to him in form of Vijaya. But what was this opportunity, and what does it have to do with the famous Admiral Andrea Dorgan? This is what we shall discuss in the next video. But for now, I would like to thank you for watching.